All right, so we're diving into leather goods quality control technician interviews today.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool field, right? You get to make sure all those awesome leather goods out there are top notch.
And we've got a bunch of RoleCatcher resources to help us break down exactly how to ace these interviews.
It's not just about getting the job, though, it's about really understanding what this role is all about.
Totally. So let's get right into it. RoleCatcher put together a list of some common interview questions.
Absolutely. The first one you're likely to hear is, can you describe your experience with quality control processes in the leather goods industry?
Now, I'm guessing they don't want some boring textbook definition, right?
No, definitely not. They want to know what you've actually done. Like, have you had an internship or a project where you got to put those quality control skills into action?
So like maybe a time you messed up and how you fixed it.
Well, yeah, or even just the challenges you faced and how you made sure the final product met the standards.
Got it. So it's about showing them you can actually walk the walk, not just talk the talk.
Exactly. And this is where RoleCatcher's AI can really help. It can actually analyze job descriptions and tell you exactly what skills they're looking for.
So you can tailor your answer to each specific company and job.
Right. You're basically giving them exactly what they want to hear based on what they've said.
That's awesome. Okay, so let's say you nailed that first question. What kind of follow-up question might they throw your way?
A common one is, what's the most important quality control standard you've worked with and why?
Uh-huh. So now they're getting into the nitty-gritty.
Yeah, and this is where you can whip out your knowledge of things like ISO 9001.
But you can't just say ISO 9001
Yeah.
and call it a day.
Nope. You gotta explain why it matters specifically for leather goods.
Like how it helps make sure every product is consistent, even though leather can be so different.
Precisely. You're showing them you understand the bigger picture.
This is great stuff, but what if I freeze up in the interview?
Yeah.
Like my mind goes blank.
Well, that's another thing RoleCatcher's AI can help with. It has a feature where you can practice answering these questions out loud.
And it gives you feedback.
It does. It can tell you if you're rambling on or if you need to use stronger words.
That's like having a personal interview coach in your pocket.
Pretty much. Okay, so moving on, another question you might encounter is, how do you ensure that the leather goods you are testing meet industry standards?
All right, so this is where we get to show off our technical know-how.
Yes, this is your time to shine. Talk about the different tests you'd run, like tensile strength testing or color fastness testing.
And the cool tools you'd use, right?
Of course. But don't just list them off. Explain what they do and how they help guarantee quality.
Like I'm imagining you holding up a little leather sample and showing them how you tested strength.
Exactly. The more you can bring it to life, the better.
It's like we're giving them a sneak peek into our quality control superpowers.
Huh. I like that. And speaking of superpowers, RoleCatcher's AI can actually show you examples of how other people have answered these questions.
So we can steal their ideas.
Not steal, but definitely get inspired. You can see what worked for them and how they structured their answers.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Now let's say they hit you with a curveball. Something like, have you ever encountered a situation where a product passed your tests but still didn't meet a specific standard? What did you do?
Ooh, that's a good one. They want to see how you handle those tricky situations.
So I can't just say, I'd probably freak out.
Yep. This is where you need to have a real-life example ready, maybe from an internship or even just a personal project.
Like that time I tried to make a leather wallet and totally botched the stitching.
Perfect. Explain what went wrong, how you investigated it, and the steps you took to fix it.
So even if I failed, I can still spin it into a positive learning experience.
Absolutely. It's all about showing them you can think on your feet and solve problems.
I love it. It's like turning lemons into lemonade, but with leather.
Exactly. And remember, even if you don't have tons of experience, you can still highlight your passion for quality.
Okay, so we've covered some pretty technical questions, but what about the whole teamwork aspect? Working in a lab with other people.
Oh yeah, for sure. Teamwork is crucial in quality control.
So how do we show them we're not just lone wolves in the lab?
Well, a question they might ask to assess your teamwork skills is, can you describe a time when you identified a quality issue with a leather product and how you resolved it?
Okay, so it's similar to that problem-solving question we talked about earlier.
Right, but this time you're emphasizing how you worked with others to find a solution.
Like maybe I noticed a problem with the die and had to collaborate with the production team to figure out what went wrong.
Exactly. Explain how you communicated your findings, listen to their feedback, and work together to implement a fix.
So it's about showing we can be both technically savvy and a team player.
You got it. And here's another tip. from the RoleCatcher Career Guide. They say that good communication is super important for moving up in this field.
Makes sense. If you can't explain those technical details to others, you're not going to get very far.
Exactly. You might even have to train new team members or present your findings to management.
So communication skills are like a secret weapon for career advancement.
I'd say so. Okay, so we've talked about how to answer some tough questions, but how does RoleCatcher's AI actually help us improve our answers? All right, so remember how we talked about practicing your answers out loud? Well, the AI actually analyzes your responses and gives you personalized feedback.
Like it can tell me if I'm using too many ums and ahs.
Yep. Or if you're being too vague, or if your vocabulary could be stronger.
That's incredible. It's like having a tiny grammar police officer on my phone.
Haha, sort of. But in a good way, it's helping you become a more confident and articulate communicator.
I love it. This RoleCatcher AI sounds like a total game changer.
It really is. Okay, we've covered a lot of ground today, but I feel like there's still so much more to explore.
I know, right? Like, what about the actual career path? And are there any other sneaky questions they might throw our way?
Oh, yeah, we've got a whole lot more to unpack. So stay tuned for part 2 of our deep dive, where we'll tackle even tougher questions and reveal more insights from the RoleCatcher resources.
Can't wait. I'm already feeling way more prepared for these interviews thanks to all these awesome tips.
Me too. This is going to be fun.
So until next time, everyone, happy prepping.
And good luck with those interviews. Welcome back to our deep dive, into prepping for that leather goods interview. We just scratched the surface last time. There are still plenty of juicy questions to tackle.
Okay, so what's next on the list? I'm ready for more.
All right, let's say they ask you, how do you ensure that your testing equipment is accurate and functioning correctly? This one's all about showing them you're a stickler for precision.
Yeah, you don't want to come across as someone who just pushes buttons without understanding what's going on.
Exactly. Talk about how you calibrate and maintain the equipment. Maybe you have a strict schedule or use special software to log everything.
So basically proving that we're the guardians of accuracy in the lab.
I like that. And don't forget to mention any troubleshooting experience you have. Like, have you ever had to figure out why a machine was giving wonky results?
Oh, yeah. I had this one time in the lab where the tensile strength tester kept giving crazy readings.
See? Perfect example. Tell them how you investigated the issue and saved the day.
It's all about showing those interviewers that we're proactive and can handle those unexpected hiccups.
Now let's shift gears a bit to teamwork. Remember, quality control isn't a solo mission.
It's like an orchestra. Everyone needs to be in sync to create beautiful music, or in this case, beautiful leather goods.
I love that analogy. So let's say the interviewer asks, how do you work with production teams to ensure that quality standards are met? Think about specific examples where you collaborated with others to achieve a common goal.
Okay, so like that time I had to explain to the production team why using a different type of dye was causing problems with the leather's durability.
Exactly. Explain how you communicated the issue and worked together to find a solution. Did you use clear and concise language? Did you listen to their feedback?
Yeah, it was a bit tricky at first because they didn't fully understand the technical stuff, but I managed to break it down for them.
See, you're highlighting those communication skills, which are super important in this role.
Okay, I'm starting to see the bigger picture here. It's not just about knowing the technical stuff. It's about being able to work effectively with others.
Right. And don't forget to mention any positive outcomes of your collaboration. Like, did it lead to a reduction in defects or an improvement in product quality?
Those are the kinds of results that hiring managers love to hear.
All right, so we've talked about teamwork now. Let's get a little more introspective. They might ask you, how do you stay up to date with industry trends and developments in leather goods quality control?
Oh, this is where I get to geek out about all those leather-related blogs and podcasts I follow.
Exactly. Talk about the publications you read, the conferences you attend, or even the online forums you participate in.
It's like saying, hey, I'm not just here for a job. I'm genuinely interested in this whole world of leather.
And remember, be specific. Don't just say you read industry magazines. Mention a particular article that caught your eye, or a trend you're excited about.
Oh, like how 3D scanning is being used more and more for quality inspections.
Perfect. That shows you're paying attention to what's happening in the industry.
And speaking of paying attention, RoleCatcher's AI can actually suggest relevant resources based on your interests and career goals.
Right. It's like having a personalized career advisor who knows exactly what you need to stay ahead of the curve.
Okay, this is all great stuff. But what if they ask about something I don't have much experience with? Like, have you ever conducted audits of quality control processes?
Don't panic. Even if you haven't led a formal audit, think about times when you've evaluated a process or identified areas for improvement.
Hmm. Maybe I could talk about that time I had to review the safety procedures in our college lab.
Exactly. Explain how you approached the task, what methods you used, and what your key findings were.
So even if it's not directly related to leather goods, I can still show them I have the analytical and problem-solving skills they're looking for.
Precisely. And if the job description specifically mentions experience with a certain type of audit, like an ISO 9001 audit, don't be afraid to acknowledge that you're still learning, but are eager to gain that knowledge.
It's all about showing them you're a lifelong learner, which is crucial in this ever-evolving field.
Okay, now for a question that might feel a bit daunting, especially for entry-level candidates, can you describe your experience with developing quality control procedures for leather goods?
All right, time to put on our quality guru hats.
You got it. Even if you haven't created formal procedures from scratch, think about any time you've documented a process, created a checklist, or suggested improvements to a system.
Could I use an example from organizing a group project in college?
Yeah,
Like creating a step-by-step plan to assure everything was done properly?
absolutely. That shows you understand the importance of clear instructions and standardized processes.
Okay, so I can basically leverage any experience where I had to think systematically and create some sort of structured approach.
And remember, RoleCatcher's AI can help you tailor your answer to specific job requirements. Let's say they're looking for someone with experience in a particular testing method. You can highlight your knowledge in that area and explain how you'd apply it to developing procedures.
It's like having a personal assistant who knows exactly what those hiring managers want to hear.
Now, before we move on to the final part of our deep dive, I want to share another gem from the RoleCatcher Career Guide. This field is all about continuous learning and growth. You can specialize in a certain type of leather, become a quality assurance supervisor, or even move into research and development.
Wow, so it's not just a job, it's a whole career path with tons of exciting possibilities.
Exactly. And speaking of possibilities, we have one final question to tackle, and it's a big one.
Ooh, a cliffhanger. I guess we'll have to wait for part 3 to find out what it is. Okay, we're back for the grand finale of our leather goods interview prep. Spill the beans. What's that final question you were teasing?
All right, so picture this. You're in the interview, things are going great, and then they hit you with, where do you see yourself in 5 years within the leather goods industry?
Ooh, that's a tough one. It's like they're peering into my future.
Exactly. They want to see if you're just looking for a job or if you're genuinely interested in a long-term career in this field.
So I can't just say, hopefully sitting in your chair making the big bucks.
Probably not the best approach. Think about your actual interests. What aspects of the leather goods world really excite you?
Well, I'm really fascinated by the whole sustainability movement. Like finding ways to make leather production more eco-friendly.
Perfect. So you could say something like, I'm passionate about sustainable practices and see myself contributing to the development of eco-friendly leather processing techniques in the next 5 years.
Ooh, that sounds impressive. So it's about aligning my personal passions with the bigger picture of the industry.
Exactly. And don't forget, RoleCatcher's AI can actually suggest potential career paths based on your interests and skills.
Wait, really? So it's like a crystal ball for my career.
Kinda. It can help you discover opportunities you might not have even thought of before.
This RoleCatcher AI is seriously blowing my mind. It's like having a personal career coach, a cheerleader, and a fortune teller all rolled into one.
All right, now before we wrap things up, I want to emphasize one more thing from the RoleCatcher Career Guide. Networking is key in this industry.
So it's not just what you know, it's who you know.
Well, it's a bit of both, but building those connections can open doors you never even knew existed.
So attend those industry events, connect with people on LinkedIn, basically put myself out there.
Exactly. You never know what opportunities might come knocking.
Okay, so we talked about tons of questions and gotten some awesome tips from RoleCatcher. But before we say goodbye, I want to leave our listeners with one final thought to ponder.
Ooh, I love a good brain teaser. Hit us with it.
As technology keeps advancing, how do you think the role of a leather goods quality control technician will change?
That's a great question. Will we have robots running all the tests? Will virtual reality play a role in inspections?
Who knows? But one thing's for sure, we got to stay adaptable and keep learning new skills.
Couldn't agree more. The leather goods industry is constantly evolving, and those who embrace change will thrive.
That's a perfect note to end on. So to all our listeners out there, thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of leather goods quality control.
We hope you feel empowered and prepared to rock those interviews.
Remember, you've got the knowledge, the skills, and with RoleCatcher by your side, the tools to succeed.
So go out there, show them what you've got, and land that dream job.
And that's a wrap on our deep dive. Until next time, happy prepping, everyone.